Hi, guys. What I am talking about today is a little heavier than my normal lightheartedness, but it is kind of going to be leading into a series that I feel is really important for us to talk about right here before the New Year's, because we start thinking about goals and all that kind of good stuff. Um, a lot of you know that I have kind of been going through it mentally, emotionally. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Trigger warning if you don't want to hear about cancer um, or loss of life or losing friends or anything like that, then just please turn away. Go to one of my other videos where I'm laughing and joking and telling you all the fun stuff. And that is perfectly fine. I totally understand that. Um, Also, I will stop and do some little caveats here and there. I also will need to stop at in the midpoint somewhere because I know that it's going to get probably really heavy, and I'll just need to pause the video for a minute. So if that happens and there's jumps, then just please forgive me and know that I'm trying the best with my editing. So here we go. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is um, not a teaching video. Something clicked for me. I had an epiphany yesterday, and it changed everything about how I've been feeling these last few weeks. And I wanted to share it because if you have ever felt lost or tired or like your purpose wasn't big enough, maybe this will resonate with you and maybe it will help you the way it helped me. So I had like a really heavy revelation, I guess, over the last months as I've been fighting depression, but it felt different from my seasonal patterns. And I kept asking myself, why? Why now? Why is this so heavy? Why can't I get excited about filming or writing? And then I started realizing it wasn't about burnout and it wasn't laziness or lack of motivation. It wasn't a lack of passion. That yesterday I realized it was guilt, survivor guilt that I have carried for years. Many of you know that I'm a cancer survivor. And what many people forget or maybe never knew is that I went through treatment at the exact same time as another friend of mine. Actually, two friends and I. So there was three of us that went through, but this is about one friend in particular. Um, Same cancer, same timing. My body responded to treatment. Her body did not. And every year around this time of year, which is around when she passed away, I think that my body and my brain, they've tried to kind of ignore it, but I think that my mind actually, somewhere in my subconscious, remembered it. And I thought I was just being emotional or tired. But this year, it finally clicked for me that my depression was not random. It was grief, it was a memory, and it was guilt that I never really fully processed or felt that I wasn't worthy enough to have. Um, this friend of mine is someone from my childhood. That is when we have been close. We have been little church buddies. We went to the same church. But then in middle school and high school, we had kind of grown apart and then lost track of each other over Facebook, became the Facebook friends. But I would not say that we weren't close anymore. We weren't best friends. But of course, when I heard what was going on with her, I had that same, I had a reaction to it. I wanted to reach out to her and, hey, wish you well. And she did me as well. And she was always on my mind as I went through that. So I think the root of my guilt was, in my mind, I had built this belief without even realizing I had that because I survived and she didn't, that I had to be saved for some other type of huge destiny, some world changing something, something monumental. So every time I looked at my real everyday purpose, like mom, wife, grandma, novelist, friend, cookie baker, I felt like I wasn't enough, like I wasn't doing enough, like I wasted the life that I got to keep that she didn't. And what it was doing to my creativity is that, because I didn't realize this until yesterday, I generally thought I was losing my passion for writing, which terrified me on top of everything else. Writing had always been the fire that kept me grounded, creative, and connected. But now I understand that it wasn't the passion that was gone. It was being smothered by guilt and grief and pressure and unrealistic expectations of some mythical higher purpose that I thought I was not living up to. I had been doing journaling and shadow work. That's just, if you don't know what that is, that's a really deep type of journaling where you ask like really hard questions. So, and the breakthrough did not happen for me in one moment. It did come from journaling, deep journaling, the shadow work. It gets hard. I kept asking myself, why do I feel like nothing matters? Why do I feel like everything is small? Why am I carrying this restlessness? And that same theme kept surfacing because I lived, because she didn't, because I felt like I owed the world something massive. And that's what I figured out yesterday. And writing all of that down made the truth kind of impossible to ignore anymore yesterday. And it was after I talked with my oncologist yesterday. I had my 6-month checkup that I have, I have 2 a year, and everything's great. Everything's wonderful. But I started talking to him because I wanted to talk about something else that had been infecting me, and that was my hormones. I'm on a medication. It's like chemo light. I have to be on it for approximately 9 more months to maybe 18 months. And I told my oncologist about the emotional mood swings I was having and the way that it had really affected my sex drive. And I just told him that, to be honest, I felt a little broken. And he reassured me that it was the medicine and that it would stabilize in about 6 months. And, that alone made me feel a little less alone, a little less confused. And, grief, guilt, hormone shifts, of course, everything felt heavier. So as I was leaving with Dan, my wonderful husband, who you guys know, I talk about him all the time. He's the best man in the entire world, in my opinion. And he goes with me to all my appointments. And I was feeling a little bit lighter as we were going out to the car, but I know I was probably quieter than normal. So he, reached out, was like, everything okay? And, we had a full hour because, my doctor's office is so far away. So we had the full hour to talk in the car. And if you know anything about long drives after emotional appointments, that's when the honest conversations tend to happen. And I told him everything I was feeling about the depression, about I felt guilt and didn't know why, the fear, and I couldn't name it. And Dan, in a way that only Dan can, said to me, baby, you have been through so much. You thought you were going to die twice. Once with the breast cancer and again with the ovarian, cervical, and uterine tumors. And something about hearing him say that out loud hit me in a way like nothing else had. And that was the moment that dots started to connect. And it wasn't fully at the doctor's office, and it wasn't fully during journaling in the car with Dan, but it started reminding me of everything that I'd survived. And it reminded me of back in the days when I was going through all this. And because he said those words, my brain finally allowed myself to go back there, to go back to the fear, to the memories, to the closeness to death twice. And for the first time, I saw how all that tied back to my friend who had went through everything I went through, but had lost their battle with cancer. So I realized how survival and loss were tangled together, and that how this time of year, these feelings ever since their death, that conversation that I had with Dan cracked that open in me. And it was the first moment that I kind of realized, oh, this is more about sadness. This is more about exhaustion. This is about death, survival, and what it means to be the one who lived. So let me get a sip of water before we go on. Give me one second. When I'm trying to fight those negative emotions, when they do hit. So now that I understand what's going on, the real question for me became, how do I fight these negative emotions when they hit me again? So here's what I'm practicing. I am naming the thought. I am saying this is guilt, not the truth. I need to be grounded in my reality. My purpose doesn't have to be huge to be meaningful. And remember, my friend, and all the people that we've lost to cancer, remember them with love and not obligation, that their story isn't my debt, and to focus on today's purpose and not the mythical one, to focus on being a mom and a wife and a grandmom and a friend and a novelist and a cookie baker, like I said before, and that those are enough. And that I can just let these feelings be feelings and let them come in waves. They will come and they will pass, and they do not define my worth. So I want you to realize what I've realized. Your purpose doesn't have to be big to be real. I want to say something to anyone watching this who has ever asked themselves, is what I do enough? Yes, it is. Your purpose does not have to be huge. It just has to be yours. The people you love, the stories you write, the moments you create, those are your purpose. And purpose doesn't need to be fireworks to be sacred. So I guess in closing, where I go from here, now that I've connected all the dots, the grief, the guilt, the hormones, the lost passion, all of it, I feel a lot lighter. I feel clearer in my wants and in what I want to do with myself. Guys, keep getting emotional. I feel like I can breathe again. And I know these feelings that I had yesterday might come back, but now I know why. And I know how to fight them. And I'm also really grateful for you guys and that I can share this journey with you. So if you are going through something similar, please, please know that you are not alone. Your feelings make sense. Your healing and your feelings are allowed, and your purpose is exactly as it is right now. Exactly as it is. It is enough. So I love you guys, and this has kind of prompted me to create a series that I will start recording when I'm not as emotional. About purpose and goals and what those really mean for us as writers, as humans. So I hope you stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this information, and I hope more than anything that it helped, especially if anyone's struggling. I know it's a rough time of year for a lot of people, and I know that 2020 all the way through to now has not been that kind to a lot of us. So just know that you are in my heart, and I love you, and just you are enough. What you're doing is enough, and just keep being you. And hang in there, guys, and just write. I love you. I will talk to you later. Bye. I'm sorry.